Oh. Well, a warm welcome to the CMRTT. And as I said, Chika will be your teacher for this moving forward. But what I'm going to do is share some slides that Chika's put together to kind of introduce you to the programme before we take a dive into looking at the CMRTT resource pack. So I just want to check, because I know we had latecomers. Have you received the resource pack and downloaded it? So you've got it? Yeah, okay. There's also an agreement that you'll need to just have a look at, and you sign it. It's a Google form. So and that gives you further access. It gives you access to the PowerPoint and sort of sews everything up this end about how, you know, what you need to put in place to deliver it. So I'm going to share this PowerPoint with you now. Okie dokes. So, Nikki, because I can see you, can you just give me a thumbs up? You can see everything. It's all nice and clear. That's brilliant. Thank you. So, yeah, Chika is your program lead for this. It's 4 sessions. Oh, there we go. So what we're going to cover today is the preparation for the classes. Going to talk about ways of getting participants, so all about your intentions. And of course, that is part of it. But as Michael said, you know, we're here because we're all really, really steeped in compassionate, mindful values and taking that forward. So sending out of the resources. So participant resource pack. I'm not a fan of acronyms, so sometimes I have a real blank and think, oh, what does that actually mean? So I'll always say stuff in full as well, and the audios. So the initial assessment, we're going to talk about red flags, housekeeping, Zoom, if you're teaching on Zoom, PowerPoint and your notes. So just want to check that people know where to find those audios. Those kind of longer audios. You're all community membership members, and everything is in the community resources, the membership resources. So if you haven't had a chance already, then have a look when we have a break and make sure you've got access to everything that you need. And that will be the pack. Yeah, Joanne, got your hands up.
I can't quite see that slide.
You can't see this slide?
Can
everybody else see it?
Sort of all over to the left.
Oh, okay. Right. Wonder why that is.
It's fine for me. I'm not sure about anybody else.
Yeah, it's fine for me as well.
Fine for me too.
Okay.
What it says on it, Joe, is preparation for class, getting participants, sending out resources, initial assessment, red flags, housekeeping, Zoom and PowerPoint. That's what we're going to talk about for the beginning of the session before we go into the teaching part. Is that okay?
Okay.
Let me see if you can you see the next one? Okay. All right. So in session, these are the captures the CMR course. It's in 4 sessions, and that's 8 hours of teaching. You can, of course, teach it in 8 separate hours, but my recommendation, and Chika has sort of really passed this on, is that you teach it for, you know, in 2-hour sessions. So that's a recommendation. But, you know, you've got both sets of resources, because it's quite a light touch, this course, depending on who you're teaching. Session 1, we explore what mindfulness and compassion is. We explore it and unpack it and make sense of it for people before going into session 2, cultivating emotional intelligence. Number 3 is all about developing resilience. and then session 4, that feeling connected and resourced. So it really fits with, you know, what you were saying at the beginning about kind of finding a softer approach, helping people develop resilience, being proactive rather than reactive. So it's a brilliant course for supporting people to become aware of what's going on for them, but also develop that resilience and that resourcefulness within themselves and their community and their own lives. So the feedback from it's been, yeah, really positive, that it really delivers. Yeah, we're not going to be completing scales like HADS or anything like that, HADS or GHQs, but we do recommend, Chika said, to use the Frielberg mindfulness inventory. Said that's a really lovely fit with this course. So you can teach whatever scales that you like, but these are the recommended ones. So there's been some development with the CMRTT, and that is that Bamba and Iamba, you may have seen on Karen's LinkedIn and various posts that have gone out and newsletters, that it's got recognition internationally. So you've got Bamba, which is, you will know, the British Association of Mindfulness-Based Approaches, and you've also got IAMBA, which is the European Association for Mindfulness Approaches. So it's brilliant that teachers now who have done this will be listed teachers, and that process is happening with Bamba and IAMBA. So yeah, that's really, really brilliant news. So yeah, Michael's here. So as he mentioned, there was some research that took place with Newcastle University. It's been researched by 2 universities. So just a little bit of an update and a capture of that. The Newcastle University researched the effects of 4 sessions or 8 sessions of the CMR on health and care staff. And also the Queen's University are examining the acceptability of the CMR in adult patients with chronic kidney disease. So there's some data, and Michael might want to say some more details about that. Don't want to put you on the spot, but if you feel you would like to, demonstrates, of course, significantly improves those levels of mindfulness and resilience, and demonstrates a shift in all levels of self-compassion. And that self-compassion, what's brilliant about self-compassion, and we were talking about keeping this at the heart of all we do, is that it's kind of, if you keep topping it up, you know, people start to realize that if they can fill their own cup up and keep themselves, you know, their energy levels up and do what they need to do, they are so much better placed to be there for the people that they, you know, want to be there. So it's keeping people in the workplace. It's keeping people who are caring for other people resourced and resilient. We taught it to foster carers, for example. And it's kind of an ongoing thing, you know, you can keep filling up your cup and keep leaning into it. And when feeling overwhelmed or under-resourced, you know, do some really these simple activities, and then, oh, things shift and pass. So those levels of self-compassion continued after the course had been completed. So yeah, the initial findings at Queen University are really positive, significant decrease in those participants' scores for anxiety and depression, and increases in self-compassion and the ability, yeah, to be mindful and that mental health and well-being. So there's some papers that have been shared with the membership, but I think it's what the essence of this is that it's an evidence-based course now. You know, there's significant evidence to, you know, to show that this course really has an impact. So sometimes that's a way in, isn't it? When we're teaching people and they are, oh, well, I'm here, or I've been sent here, or I've been treated to this course, or, well, I thought I'd come on it. You know, it's just like, it's such a lift to be able to say, hey, you know, this is being taught to lots and lots of people, and research is showing. And Chika is planning on doing regular kind of updates as well on research, and also finding out more about what our graduates are doing, and the benefits, you know, far and wide, kind of working on capturing that so that you can pass them on to your own clients as well. Does anybody want to say anything at this point or ask anything?
I don't think I needed to add anything to the research at this point, Angie. The data's not in front of me as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
3 years ago. But yeah, I just think, you know, there's potentially scope for more research, because this is a course I could potentially run within my school at the university as well, with medical students, which could form another project.
Yeah, be great, wouldn't it? And there's also some other things happening with Kidney Care UK. One of the IMC graduates, for example, has started a thing called Wellbeing Warriors. So she's working delivering this course, which is exactly what she set out to do. She did the CMR, and then she did the IMC, and then she did the CMRTT training. And she did that because she got so much from it herself. She really, really was driven by those sort of core values to take this forward. And so there's been so many things that I could take up another hour of your time telling you about all the stuff that's sort of happening and gone on. But this is the evidence and the research that Chika's put together just to share with you. So yeah, so there I can pop that in chat, or it's on the membership. But yeah, if you want to find out a bit more about it, it was called the Cosmic Study, the one with the Kidney Care UK. So yeah, there's also some undergraduate nurse and midwives. There's something going on with Kidney Care UK as well, a link there for children with heart disease. There's some work going on with veterans. And so there'll be some more research coming through, but that's where we are at the moment. There's also some work being done with caregivers. And I think this is an amazing course for caregivers, having taught it in its early years to foster carers, and just seeing people feeling really resourced and robust with some real good tools and mindsets to take forward to help them care for themselves. So yeah, there's a little bit more there from the qualitative data. Yeah, and I think you have a little read, and it really captures, you know, how calming and relaxing I feel, and how it helps to steady everything, because that feels good. How it makes you want to carry on learning about it and be able to do the best that you can, and give yourself more time, and to understand what it's like to actually be kind to yourself, to kind of learn those skills through a structured program like this. It's really powerful. So I'm going to stop doing that now. Just have a pause. All right. So you're teaching a program that's within the wider world of mindfulness as well. So it's really important to have an understanding of that. I think Jo's having difficulties with her internet, so I think she's going to be in and out. So any thoughts around that before we dive in and take a look at the program in a little bit more detail? Good. Okay. All right. Has everybody got their teacher training pack so that we can have a look through session 1? Brilliant. All right, just bear with me. Okay. So welcome back, Joe. You made it back in, thank you. So in your packs, you've got your notes for the trainer. So it refers to a teacher's agreement. So I would recommend, well, we recommend that you refer to the agreement every time you teach the course. And is anybody planning on teaching in a different way to, 2 hours a week for 4 consecutive weeks, or is that an unknown at the moment? What you're planning to do? Yeah, go on.
I'm thinking, I don't know, we'll see, but I was thinking that just in terms of teaching like employees, it might be easier to like pitch it as a 1 hour per week thing. But yeah, so
yeah, okay. Well, on the membership, I just want to bring your attention to just a practicality as well. You've got a resource pack for 8 weeks, to practicing in 8 sections, or you've got a PowerPoint, and you've got a PowerPoint for teaching in 4 sessions. And what we're going to use for this is the 4 sessions, but it's the same content that's covered. So we've made it accessible as possible. So yeah, it's really good to consider that, Rachel. Like, yeah, already considering what's going to be the right fit to take it forward. Yeah. Can the sessions be longer than 2 hours? Yeah, you could teach it in 2 lots of 4 sessions, but just thinking about people's capacity, Joe, to where they are, so thinking about who you're teaching as well, and whether they've got the capacity to be in a session for 4 hours or not, which is why we kind of recommend, the recommended one is the sort of 2 hours and then at least a week in between, however you teach it, so you're not teaching for 8 sessions, 8 consecutive days, or 2 lots of 4 hours together, that there's a week in between, because the thinking behind that is that people have a chance to do their practices, to really have an opportunity to reflect and do some self-inquiry as well. So yeah, that's the recommendation. But you'll make, the beauty of this is you can make it fit however you like. So I would have a look at the agreement every time that you teach it. It just reminds you, and then that agreement Chika will be updating it, and there'll be regular sort of updates on the membership as well. So if any resources get updated or changed or whatever, so it's just making sure that you know where to find everything, and yeah, and look at everything like that. So it is designed, this trainer pack is designed for 2 hours. So yeah, but you can adapt it to fit. So the CMR, who's it for? It can be to groups, organizations, individuals, anybody that teaches, supports and cares for others. So it's really open to everybody. And pre-COVID, our client groups that we taught were often people that just were carers or whatever. And since the pandemic, this sort of course is useful for anybody in the workplace, because we're all responsible for each other's well-being in the workplace as well, aren't we? So yeah, it really does lend itself to anybody and everybody. So you've got your resource pack, you've got your downloads of your compassion and meditation practices, and there are 4 key practices. You've got compassionate body scan, compassionate mindful movement, affectionate breathing. They are the 3 main practices, and all the other practices can be found on YouTube, and we will also look, and if I find any links that are useful today, I'll be putting them into chat as well. And I know that Chika is updating this pack to make sure that all the links and things are in there. So the PowerPoint I'm going to be showing you is for delivery, and it's not to be sent out to participants. So yeah, that's something. So it's to aid your delivery. There's a lot of discussion and things like that. You have it, but it doesn't go out to your participants. They get a participant pack that's all written for you, and the teacher training pack, as you'll see, refers to the slides that we'll be looking at. So, you know, you've got your pack and you've got your PowerPoint and your slides, and so it's all there for you, and your participants have got a participant pack to follow. So in my experience, sometimes people are avid and they follow their pack and they've already read it before they come. And in other cases, typically when I was working with foster carers, they hadn't, you know, so be prepared for people, you know, being extremely busy and just not looking at their pack, but they've got it, and you're referring to it, and you know, it's there for them to have for the duration of the course and afterwards. Yeah, Rachel.
Sorry.
So,
I just wondered with so I had two questions actually. One was about the recorded meditations, because I noticed it says to you can record them in your own voice, which I'd probably do.
yeah.
So I was just wondering, are there any scripts for them, or do I just...
No, there isn't any scripts for them. Is that something that you would like? Because I'm making notes of what people would like, or would you be quite happy to listen to it and then do one in your own voice?
I mean, the script would be helpful, just for the recording purposes, but obviously I could just listen to the recording and make the script
Yeah,
from
but
there.
it's about us being, yeah, absolutely. So I will make a note of that and ask Chika to come back regarding that. But yeah, what I did when I was teaching it is, I did exactly what you said. I just listened, kind of absorbed it. You're going to be practicing it today. So there's probably an opportunity to make some notes as well. Does that feel okay, Rachel?
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
fine. And I just had one other question. It was just about the pack, because I was just
Yeah.
wondering, because I know it's all in one, and I was just thinking that I almost feel like I wouldn't, this might be wrong, I don't know, but I was thinking that instead of people sort of being able to see the entire content of the course before they start, like, because I did another course previously where I just sent out the content per week, so they had, before they start, they know what they're doing this week, and then they get it delivered each week, rather than just having, I just thought it may be more helpful just in terms of they can just see what's coming up rather than reading the whole, but maybe it's better to have the whole. I'm not sure. What do you think?
Well, we've done both. And in my experience, it's easier for you as a teacher moving forward. You know, you've got the pack, and just saying to people, you know, just read session week and thinking about what you're going to send out in between as well. So yeah, I think it's up to you whether you want, we don't provide that, but it's up to you if you've got a particular client group that you think actually, you know, this is going to be much easier for them or more accessible for them, then, you know, you could do that. Absolutely. We don't with any of our courses, we tend to send out the pack and then they've got it all in one place, because what tends to happen with stressed people as well is they go, oh, I can't find it. Whereas if it's all in one place, or you can resend it, you know, as a pack. So it's just thinking about the practicalities, really. Rachel, is that okay?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Nikki, were you waving?
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to echo that I'd like to have scripts as well. I think it'd be useful for people to have a written down copy as well, just because different people sort of like learn in different ways, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to put a message in Teams, because I'm wondering if there's somebody going to be coming in this room and I don't want them to. So just bear with me one moment. I am in Zoom. Thank you. Sorry, just had to do that. So I've got a couple of things in chat to pick up on. Yeah, can the session Have I missed teacher pack? Is that the same as the 4 and 8 week participant pack? No, there's a training pack, Joanne, that is called the CMRTT pack that you will have had in your welcome details to download. If you haven't had it, or it's easier for me, I can just email it to you. So let me know. Yeah, rather than because we're going to be referring to it. Thanks, Joanne. All right. So yeah, so it's really versatile. You can use it as you like, but I think it's good to ask these questions about why we do it the way that we do and why we've have the resources the way that we have them. So yeah, do use this time. That's exactly what this first session is for. Yeah. So you've got your PowerPoint for delivery, and it's a read-only one. And there is also a separate PowerPoint page 1 for you to add your own branding, because that's really important that you put your own name to this. So what we've done, we've got a additional PowerPoint slide ready for you, and you just put your own logo and things on it. And then you've got your trainers pack, you get your CMR trained teacher logo that you can put on all your advertising and things like that, your resources for participants, and you've got a certificate of attendance for participants as well. And there's a research information sheet that's on the community, but I've just captured that in what I told you, what I delivered just now that Chika put together for us. So, and all the way through your training pack, all your teaching prompts are written in blue italic. So, it just tell you the slide number, for example. So thinking about your planning, the initial assessment, we don't give you a generic initial assessment because we want you to develop your own and use the ones that you've developed in your training already. And also in Karen's book, there is a short one that's written already that you might want to adopt if, for example, you've got a longer initial assessment that you use for working one-to-one or something like that. So it's your responsibility as a mindfulness teacher to have that in place and ask the questions that you need to ask for your client group. Have you all got your initial assessments that you did for hand, or you all got something that you can use? Any questions around initial assessment?
Yes, Angie, I just want to know how far you go with that assessment. Is it quite light touch, or
it'd be light touch.
Technical stuff to any great detail or anything? No.
Yeah, I mean, it's I guess it depends on the client group, but you never, it's you've got to decide what you need to know in order to feel comfortable that you're teaching mindfulness. So I would always ask, is there anything medical going on for them? Is there anything going on in their lives right now? I'd always ask about suicidality, just so that I know. But it doesn't need to go into sort of all that great depth. And then the way that I deliver this, and of Mindfulness UK, is you do that generic kind of initial assessment, and then if there's any red flags, i.e., that you feel like they've experienced a specific trauma, or they're not sure, there's something new that's going on for them, I would then have a conversation with them. So that's how we tend to work. But it's really around how you want to work. And also, Rachel mentioned going into organisations. We do a lot of supervision with people around that, and they kind of go, oh, I'm not allowed to ask these questions. They realise they're going in because of GDPR. So it's just around really having that clear with the organisation that you're working with. So obviously, if it's your organisation, you might know the people quite well, and your initial assessment might look very much around those red flags for mindfulness that you wouldn't know generically about somebody. But where people have come unstuck sometimes, where without the forward thinking, is they've gone into organisations, said, oh, here's my initial assessment, and they've said, no way, you know, you can't ask our personnel that. So they then have to arrange with the organisation some sort of process and procedure so that they can get the information that they need. So it might be something around, this is what I need to know about people. Can we work out a system? And it would be different wherever you work, which is why we don't give a generic initial assessment, because we really need you to do that thinking behind it. And also you'll have supervision as a mindfulness teacher. So sometimes a lot of supervision, that's why we have supervision before a course, is, have you thought about this? And we can support people to get a workaround with it. You know, like, right, you need to speak to, you know, whoever's responsible for that in the organisation. But the crux of it is, as you all know, as mindfulness teachers, you need to know enough to decide whether or not it's safe and appropriate for you to teach this course. And that responsibility is yours as a mindfulness teacher. So, yeah. So if Joanne's asking, if going into organisations, there might be times when individuals need to be excluded, red flags, and how do you handle that in practice? What do you, Joe, can you say a bit more about that? Do you mean excluded from the programme or excluded from parts, or?
Yeah, so it's difficult, isn't it? Because you can't speak confidentially to HR, for example, about a person. You'd need to speak to that person individually. Are there times when people might feel totally excluded from a group kind of employer offering of mindfulness? Or in reality, if you're trauma sensitive, is it more likely, or do you need to get that doctor to say that they can attend, for example? What would you advise?
Yeah, it just depends, Joe, on what they're saying, you know. So going back to those kind of red flags around your teacher training, you know, if someone was feeling suicidal, you know, at that moment, it's very different, isn't it? Somebody saying some ideology around that, or, you know, in the past I've thought about this, or, you know, it's about checking out with them. If someone's feeling suicidal, there'll be something in place within that organisation where that will get picked up, you know, and signpost on. And it's about you, that the course being right for them right now. So that's kind of about feeling excluded. The wording that I use, if that ever comes up, which is very, very rare, because we do teach trauma informed, and we do, you know, teach within our own levels of expertise, and, you know, being able to hold the space and whatever. So it's a really good question, but the wording that we would always use is, we're just checking that this course is right for you now. You know, this course, not you're right for the course, that this course is right for you right now in your life, you know. So that's what that's about. And it's really about having those conversations if you are going into workplaces, and finding a kind of way around that, and exploring the kind of, well, what if, and being really clear on, you know, what you need to know as a mindfulness teacher, and working around that. And that's different in so many different organisations. Nicola?
Just thinking about that, any of the courses that you've ever done with regards to organisation, so your experience with it, because I'm thinking this wouldn't be a mandated course. So if I was going to go into an organisation, it would be almost like a first aider. People will volunteer to do this course. So the same as when you do your mental health first aid training, etc., and all of that, would you put that option there, that if there was anything within the course that caused somebody some concern, then they're obliged to leave, etc., and look after themselves? Would that be enough?
Do you mean within it?
Yeah.
Within the course, yeah, we always have that, you know, in so part of our initial assessment, we always ask, like, you know, if something, if you're coming on the course and you're feeling, you know, upset or activated, you know, whatever words you want to use, you know, we would ask that you sort of, you know, turn the camera off and look after yourself and then rejoin the session when you can. Is there any, and we would check in with you afterwards, whatever it is, and I would say, is there anything else that you would need? Is there anything else that you need? And generally people put no, but I would definitely need a check-in, or I would want someone to check in with me. So it is a light touch course. This said, it's not you know, it's not a deep course. It's not as sort of, the practices aren't as long, so it's a lighter touch, but still you're teaching them mindfulness, which is awareness of how things are for them. So we need to make sure that those red flags are covered in whatever way. So you need to do some thinking around that. But you're not doing that thinking on your own. Because you will be having supervision, and that's why we say to people, you know, once you book your course, book a supervision, and then your supervisor's role is very much around unpacking this. And it might be very straightforward, you know, and you're like, yeah, I've got, you know, 7 people and blah blah blah, and you know, or it could be, oh goodness, I've hit a little bit of a barrier with HR, I need to find a way around this, you know. So that's what your supervisor's for. But generally, you know, thinking about what you need to have in your initial assessment for you to feel comfortable to teach. What do you need to know? Is that okay? So would it be useful to go into a couple of breakout rooms and just discuss with each other and share what you do or your thoughts around it? Because it sounds like it's something that's here, that's very alive for people. That'd be helpful to just have a chat about it and come back with some questions, and then I can answer them. And also, you know, it gives you a chance to think about it, talk about it a bit. Okay.
Sorry, can I just jump in? I just need like a 2-minute break or something.
Yes, I was just going to suggest that we have that before we go in. You beat me to it. So
Okay.
you take a comfort break and go and grab a cuppa, and then come back and have a little exploration about initial assessment. So yeah, do you want to take sort of 10 minutes and make yourself a hot drink? And yeah, all right. Okay, see you in a bit. Yes, there we go. Yeah, really good questions, Rachel, about that. Who shall cancel that? Yeah, so you've got the best placed plans in the world, haven't you? You know, moving forward, right? Ideally, I want to do this, and then you've got to work in partnership with organisations. So those questions are really good to have early on, you know. But also to have a think about what it is, how flexible you're able to be, because when you start changing a program and teaching it one-to-one, and you know, saying, right, I'll do it for 8 hours a week, obviously you've got to put the thinking and the planning in that, and everything that you need is on the resources in order to deliver it. So but it's really about you understanding, which you clearly do, around what it is that you need to ask and what it is you need to put in place. So, you know, for example, going into an organisation and them only, the participants only getting the initial assessments like the day before, like you're just not going to get your initial assessments back in time, are you? And sometimes you have to sort of flex and, you know, be prepared to, you know, get the initial assessment back on the day, having to put them in chat for one person because the best will in the world, they haven't answered it back. And then, you know, do a follow-up after the session or whatever, because your first session is very introductory, or sometimes I'm looking at initial assessment sometimes while I'm teaching, which isn't ideal, but it does happen, particularly when you work with organisations, because it's really dependent on, you know, how they work. But what you can do is work out and spend some time, and also talk to your supervisor and the wider community about, and really be clear around how you want to work. So in an ideal world, I'd want to work in this way and deliver in this way. And then once you've done a couple, So if you were starting out and you're not sure exactly what you want to do, I would deliver 2 as it is, for 2 hours a week in between, or maybe longer. Rachel, it's fine to have a little bit longer. You just need to make sure that you set the practice and maybe have a check-in, check-in email, something like that, for a couple of sessions. So you really get to grips with the program, you get really familiar, and then you can kind of start, that would be my recommendation. And then you kind of start, oh, maybe if I did that one-to-one, what would that look like? Or if I did a larger group, or if I changed it up a bit, because I've been asked to work with these people and that's how it works for them. So, I would just go with the flow of it, but ideally start off delivering it as we're teaching it to you at the moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. Thank you.
Yeah, but you have to also, I understand, if you're developing business, you've got to respond to what comes in as well, haven't you? And that's when your supervisor comes in, say, hey, I've got this brilliant thing that's going on. I just need to have, some supervision around how I'm going to adapt this, and they will help and support you to do that. Is that okay?
On that, actually, Angie,
Yeah.
how do you
Yeah.
actually book for a supervisor? Because I was just looking on the website, I couldn't.
Oh, okay.
find-
So yeah, you just email into info@Mindfulness UK, but Chika will go through all that in the last session, and you'll get
Okay.
linked to, and you get a supervision agreement, depending on what sort of supervision you want, whether that's a 40-minute or an hour or whatever. So it's really dependent on what it is that you want, but Chika will go through all that in the final session with you. Is that all right?
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what other things came up in your discussions? Key findings, about how you work, or sharings, or questions?
We mainly discussed the agreement at the beginning, whether you have a one-to-one with people, etc. And I think there's I've been currently having these conversations with a colleague about our next MBSR course, and there's lots to talk about, but I mean, it's like if you're doing something for an organization, like for example, a university, it was quite easy because they've got the infrastructure of support already in place. Staff and students have already been vetted to a degree. So it can be relatively light touch, I think, in organizations, I would say. Obviously, some organizations are probably better than others, but I think always probably good to have in mind the possibility of having a one-to-one with people. I know I've always done that for MBSR. For this course, maybe 12 people to meet would be a bit of time, but I think it's a really good investment. Not only do you get to know a little bit more about them, obviously, you could go into some of the answers they've given to the form that you've created, and it might be that you create a more general, lightish form, and then you follow that up in more detail in the one-to-one, which feels more comfortable. But they get to meet you, you build rapport, you get a real sense of them, and then when they come to the course, you already know everybody, you've kind of met them, you're not meeting 12 people all at once, brand new. I just think it's actually a really useful thing for that. So it kind of does 2 things at once, I mean, I don't know if there's anything else anybody else wants to add from our group, but I hope that's helpful.
So you're talking about one-to-ones, as in not delivering the course one-to-one, having your one-to-ones in relation to your initial assessment, weren't you?
Just like a 5-10 minute, could just be a 5-10 minute Zoom call or something. Yeah.
And that's very much how we work at Mindfulness UK. Send out a blanket one with all the things that you want to know, and then there's sometimes a rumble, isn't there, that you're like, oh, okay, there's something there. And some people take 2 minutes for a follow-up call. They're like, literally, no, I'm absolutely fine, I'm raring to go, I'm really I'm picking the kids up, I'll see you on Monday, that kind of thing. And some people, you need to just dig a little bit deeper, and that language around, I'm doing this to make sure, to introduce myself, and also to make sure that this is the right course for you, is so powerful, so much more powerful than people hearing a message are you right for the course, you know, which of course I wouldn't do, but it's just that flip, isn't it? Yeah, Joanne's made a really good point. So there's often an employee assistance program when you can signpost of any issues triggered as the course go on. Yeah, and I think those sorts of conversations are really useful to have with an organisation right from the start. So I had somebody in supervision, for example, that came across that, you know, somebody was triggered, hadn't come up in initial assessment, she'd done all her due diligence, but something came up for somebody. And then as a result of that, she had another conversation and said, you know, we supported her in it and she was able to signpost and everything. But that signposting is there and really clear for her as a teacher and also for the participants, you know, because people are much more empowered if they know, okay, I still want to stay on the course, but, you know, I realise I do feel upset about that, and they know where they can get some support with it. Doesn't mean they won't be on your course. It just means they've got even more, there's even more value to their experience. So it's just important to really think about who you're working with and make a list of questions. I'm always doing that if I'm teaching, you know, we're teaching somewhere new at the moment, and there's a completely different set of questions because of the client group that we're working with. And it's so good just to spend that time and invest in your planning, you know, right, have they got everything? Do they know what they need? Have they used Zoom before? A lot of places only use Teams, you know, so if you're teaching them on Zoom, they might need a little bit more information, or you might, I don't like Teams, I'm hopeless at it, it just doesn't speak to me. It's so I've taken the decision that I'm going to teach on Zoom because it just makes me, it just works for me so well. But you might be totally confident in digital platforms, but have you sent out the right information so that everybody in that in your group knows it's on Zoom and Zoom is this, and here's some top tips, you know, around using Zoom or whatever. But I really like Michael's suggestion, if it's feasible, you can work like that, you know, to do that. And then, yeah, absolutely, it's a smooth transition. When they arrive, you already know them. Yeah, Nicola. Getting used to calling you Nicola now. I don't know you as Nikki, don't I?
I know. It's a thought that's just popped into my head, actually. Yeah. Obviously, when I go into the organisation or into my organisation, not my organisation, the one that I work for,
yeah.
I've already said we've got a number of mental health first aiders already trained. And it's just come to mind, and I've thought, to be kind to myself as well, initially, the thought would be that I would train them within this.
Yeah.
So that obviously they're kind of that mindset to begin with.
Yeah.
And they're going to give me some honest and constructive feedback with regards to it, but in a safe way.
Yeah.
And obviously they can then promote and send the message out there with regards to the worth of it to the rest of the workforce. So sometimes it's finding that, not cheats way in, but the easier way in, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's almost like doing a pilot, and then like, did you get everything that you needed? You know, what else would have helped, or, you know, finding a way around it within the organisation that you're working with. Yeah. And yeah, it is. I think that's a really good way of working, Nicola, you know, and if you've got that to hand, that's great. But it's really about doing the thinking beforehand, which, if you've run lots of courses, is really easy. But if you haven't, then, you know, it's all in that teacher pack is kind of like yeah, have I done that? Have I done that? And am I happy, you know, to teach these people what would happen if, without frightening yourself, because it is a light touch. And it's, you know, for those who've taught the 8-week MBSR, this is a brilliant sort of precursor to that. You know, do the CMR before you do an MBSR, or after they've done the MBSR. Oh, I'd like to learn more about compassion. You know, oh, hey, I'll teach you the CMR. So if you're already teaching a program, whether that's 8-week MBSR or something different, this can be the follow-up one. And what's good about that is what Nicola has sort of landed on. You already know those people, don't you? You already know where they are, what training they've had already. So if you've got that, great. But if you're teaching out in the, you know, general public spaces that you're not quite sure about, use the training pack and your supervision to just make sure that you're comfortable and confident and all the information's gone out, you know. And you know, how are you going to, just generally, how are you going to market this course that you're doing? So has anybody got any thoughts around that, you know, how they're going to get the word out there? So, or do you want to ask some questions around that, or are you all sorted?
I think I've kind of jumped on the bandwagon with regards to we're part of the MPA, the Mineral Products Association, and they write quite a lot of codes of practice, etc. And they're looking at one with regards to stress at the moment. So I've volunteered to be part of that working group, just again to sneakily, with another intention of being able to once I've tried this within the organisation I'm in, to promote it then within the MPA as well at the same time. So it's looking, I'm networking constantly.
Yeah, and that's great. You know, it's all with mindfulness teachers generally, if they're not you know, not used to running their own business or generating their own courses or whatever, then it is, you know, thinking about that. And, you know, you've got social media, you've got LinkedIn, and thinking about all the wording and letting people know that you're running these courses, which is really, you know, I'm known as Captain Obvious in the team, but sometimes people focus so much on, right, what's my initial assessment, what's this, what's that, and everything. They realise then that, oh, I've only got 3 people, or I've only got 2 people, or I haven't, well, who have you told about it? Oh, I didn't have time for that. So sometimes think about, you know, doing that in a different way, you know, putting your course out there. And then when you've got some, you know, some people on them, then looking, right, okay, what am I going to do for this, that, and the other, you know, what information. So you've got it front loaded, and then when you've got the people and you know what you're doing, then revisiting the initial assessment and your process, making sure it's all tight and everything. But this is an opportunity to really think about, you know, what it is that you need your people to know, the people that are coming. Joanne, sorry, got your hand up.
Yeah, Joe's fine, whatever.
Okay.
I suppose for me, it's always been a bit of a thing about getting sort of bums on seats, you know,
Yeah.
how to actually get your client group is with, if you're not within an organization such as Nicola,
Yes.
it's hard to know where to start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
So throughout this, yeah, go on. Sorry.
My thinking is to involve HR in companies, but if you were doing it on a one-to-one, maybe advertising in things like local parish council magazines and things like that, until you've got social media up and running. And you might have, you know, I've done some market research with a couple of people around the area where I'm working, and it seems like they've got their website up and running, but I mean, I haven't got a website up and running at the minute. So it's about, okay, how are you going to start? And it's
Yeah.
a bit tricky. So
yeah, it is tricky. It is tricky, Joe. There is the business development e-course, and I really recommend that. And as a member, I think you get 50% off of that. So I think that's a really good place to start, because it literally makes you think, right, who do I know, and how am I identify how you're going to do that. So for anybody who's starting, you know, out on their own and they're not within an organization, I really recommend that as a place to look. So thinking about your, you know, all the information that needs to go out for people, like even down to even in organizations, I do this, what to wear. You know, people don't have to wear anything special, but it's good to wear clothes that you can move and breathe in and things like that. So people just, you know, might be coming straight in from the workplace or whatever. So just thinking about those things, and also practicalities like, have they got a raisin for the raisin practice or an alternative? So that said, have you all got a raisin? And would you like to practice teaching each other that, or is that something that you really, really know inside out? I think what I would suggest is that I pop you into breakout routes again, and those of you who would like to practice on the others, and the others who it might be more familiar with, really have your beginner's mind to it. So, you know, you might not all get a chance to practice it, but it's a chance to experience it, and it's very short. It's just, you know, 5 minutes. You've got 10 minutes to teach it to each other in real time, but it's just a few minutes of a practice, an introductory practice. So yeah, I'm going to pop you into pairs and decide which one of you might like to deliver it to the other person. Does that feel all right? And if there's time and you want to do a shorter one, both deliver it. So have you all got a raisin is my main question. Or something, or something.
I'm a late comer.
Oh, of course you are.
But I can go down and get a tangerine, so I can do
Yes,
that.
just something. So yeah, it doesn't have to be a raisin. Zainab, have you got something? No. Do you want to go and get something like a piece of fruit, or
Do that.
or you could lead the practice maybe? Do you want to do that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat it?
Do you know the raisin practice?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to teach it to somebody? Because so I'll put you with somebody in a breakout room.
Yes, I have tips for somebody, but no.
Okay, all right. So if I put you with somebody who's got a piece of fruit, is that okay?
Okay.
And then just teach it for 5 minutes. Yeah, all right. I can't call you Nicola. I keep thinking I'm telling you off.
No.
Nicola.
Yeah, it's my husband. I'm just teaching this to the cat at the moment.
Oh, lovely. Beautiful.
There you go.
All right. We just pause recording.